So hopefully you guys have already finished your cube and you've hung it up outside in the hall. But this week we're actually studying about value. Now, if you remember, value has to do with light. So how dark something is and how light something is. Today what I want you to do is do some value exercises, what we call value scales. And I think probably you guys have done like a value scale before. If you had art last year, or maybe in elementary school, you might have tried to do a value scale. But for today, I want you to do value scales using a few different techniques with a pencil, okay? So if you don't have a pencil, you should have a pencil in your basket there. If you don't have enough pencils or if something's wrong, please just let me know. Now, for hatching, which I've been working on right here, what you're going to do is you're going to use straight lines down vertically in order to create different values. So if you can see at the top, I've put a black section, the mid-value section, and also white. Now, you don't have to start with the black section like me. You can start, anywhere along that hatching value scale. But I find it easier to start with black first, then I'll kind of work my way to the lightest value, right? So as you can see here, I'm taking my time, I'm putting down the lines, and I'm trying to get kind of close to that value that's at the top. Okay, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to go from dark all the way to light. Now that white box there, you don't even have to color in because our paper is white, okay? So what you can do is you can increase the amount of lines to make it darker, or you can decrease the amount of lines to make it darker for hatching. Also, you can kind of make a lighter touch, so you can draw lighter to make a lighter value as well, okay? So I'm not going to go through every single box here. I just wanted to show you what hatching is. And I think this is something we worked on before when we worked with texture. Now, cross-hatching is using two lines that are perpendicular to each other, okay? So you're going to draw lines at one diagonal going straight down, and then you're going to draw lines from the other diagonal. You can go down or up, it's up to you, it doesn't matter. The only thing is it should cross over each other. That's why it's called cross-hatching, right? So they should be at perpendicular angles to each other. And for this black, I'm just going to, keep adding the lines. I'm going to go from the top left all the way to the bottom, and then I'm just going to keep going, okay, until it's dark. Now, it doesn't have to be perfectly black, right? You saw above the hatching, it's not perfectly black. For the cross-hatching, it's not perfectly black as well. It doesn't need to be perfectly black, but I want you to just try to get it as dark as you can. All right, so now we're going to go on to the stippling. And again, this is something that we studied when we studied texture. The only thing is that we did one box for each of these textures, okay? And in this case, you're doing way more boxes, okay? Now, this stippling is going to take a long time, putting in dots and stuff. So what I would recommend is that you don't use the tip of the pencil and put dot, 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 dot. But you kind of make a small, kind of like a comma mark every time. And that way it'll go by. It's still like making the stippling mark, but it's not going to take, forever to do, especially for this black. Now, it's still going to take a while, and I want you to take your time. Don't get frustrated. This is just practice. Okay, and the last section is the blending. Now, for the blending section, You really don't have to worry too much about the technique that you use. I mean, you can use the hatching and cross hatching, the stippling. You can use kind of like scribbling marks and stuff. It's not a big deal about the type of technique that you use. But for this, instead of doing separate boxes, what you're doing is you're blending it. So you're trying to go from the white to the mid value to the black. And in this case, I'm going from dark to light, and what I'm doing is I am putting a light pressure in the lighter sections, and then when I go over to the black section, I'm putting in more pressure. I'm putting on more pressure on my pencil. And what I'll do is I'll just do that, and I'll just keep going over it again and again and again until I get the blending that I want, okay? So again, this is something that you can't really do too fast, okay? You have to take your time with this. Otherwise, what's going to happen is, it's going to be too dark in one section and too light in another section. So you really have to take your time and just gradually build up that black. And this is very important when you're doing shading, when you're doing shadow. You want to gradually build up the black, gradually build up your values. So that's what this practice is for.